It's all set.
Okay. I'm going to call this meeting to order at 6:32 of the Windsor Southeast Supervisory Union on November 25th, 2024. Any changes, additions to the agenda? Oh, wow. I'm going for Davis record timing tonight. Okay. Approval of the minutes. Last time I tried to squish them together and it didn't work very well. I will take a motion to approve the minutes of October 3rd, 2024. That was the Transportation Subcommittee.
I'll make that motion.
Okay. Do I have a second?
Seconded.
Oh, everybody seconds. Okay.
Okay. And I will take go around the horn. Davis?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
I take it Hannah's not here yet.
Hannah's not here.
Okay. Nikki?
Aye.
Beth Roy? Is she here?
Bill, shouldn't this just be the people that were at that meeting?
No, people can abstain.
Okay.
Because it was an actual meeting, so.
I'll usually go on as I get the minutes and
Anne Marie
Aye.
and Sarah.
Aye.
Okay. I will take a motion to approve the minutes of October 28th, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Okay. Hearing none. I will take a roll call. Oh, by the way, in the last vote, I am an aye. Sorry. Davis.
Aye.
Nancy.
Aye.
Amy.
Aye.
Nicole.
Aye.
Anne Marie.
Aye.
And Sarah.
Aye.
Okay. Moving right along. Public participation. Public comment is not legally required, but we believe it is crucial for us to hear from our community members about their concerns over issues. Through these meetings, our board members for our students our board models for our students how to conduct public discourse, and that the board and members of our community can approach controversial issues in a civil and constructive manner and can demonstrate mutual respect. Having said that, please note that the board is here to listen. The public comment period is not designed for discussion. Please start by identifying yourself and what town you reside in. I'm glad to get through that. I got to move my owl window to the side because all this color here is causing my ADHD to kick my dyslexia in. Okay, do we have any public comment?
I have an announcement.
Okay.
Yeah, and this is something that Elizabeth had wanted me to bring up since she knew she probably couldn't make it. But she had sent me some materials about a Human Rights Commission training on harassment and bullying that's happening in Springfield. I don't know if she shared you the. Yep.
Oh, no, I got it. We're signed up.
Oh, cool.
Well,
Fantastic.
me, Tracy, myself, another principal, a teacher.
Oh, right on. Well, yeah, she just wanted to make sure that it got.
That is being
It's
put out by the Vermont Learning Club.
Yes.
And it's Jill.
Yep.
Yeah. So.
Yep. Yeah, I saw her name on that, and she sent me the materials. I looked over it, and I, agreed with her that it looked like really valuable training. So I'm glad to hear that folks are going to that down in Springfield.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what.
Thank you, Davis. Nikki?
I just I gave a shout out via email to all of our admins and all of our music teachers. But the district's music festival, or one of them, was Friday and Saturday, and it was just phenomenal. There were choirs. There were 114 kids in the middle school choir, and we had a fair number of our SU kids in there. It was just so neat to have all the SU kids on a bus together, getting to know each other, and performing with kids from all over Southern Vermont. So just really an honor, and just really excited that of the level of music program that we have in our SU, and that our teachers are willing to give up their Saturday to spend with our kids to do amazing things with them. So shout out to all of them.
Thank you, Nikki. Anyone else?
What was it? Should I talk about the feast? Is it, oh, this is a good time. The ACE program put on a Thanksgiving feast on Thursday. And it was amazing because they did all the cooking. And it was turkey and potato. It was everything, and desserts, and it was wonderful.
It's awesome.
It's really cool.
Nancy,
And it was very
can
well
you
attended.
repeat? Can you repeat what program?
It's the ACE program
ACE. Okay, thank you.
at the high school or middle school.
Anyone else? Okay, thank you. Items for discussion. People, let's stay focused here. This is going to be a roller coaster. Okay. Number one, board member conflict of interest. Let me get to the right one. I will take a motion to approve this.
I'll make a motion to approve it.
Thank you.
Amy, second.
Thank you, Amy. Discussion. Well, I'll throw in really quickly. I think this is well written. It follows the letter of the law, and it's really tight. So, any more discussion? I don't hear any. I will take a roll call vote. Davis?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Nicole?
Aye.
Anne Marie?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
And I am an aye. That has been
I'm an I
approved.
too.
Oh,
Beth.
Beth
Beth.
is here.
I'm just, sorry, I got here 2 minutes late.
Ah, no problem. I have to uncross you off on my list, though. Control. I learned how to do the cross out with my keyboard. Very excited. Little things in life. Okay, screening volunteers and work study students. I will take a motion to approve. It's the third reading.
So moved.
Second.
Davis, Nancy, and Davis. Thank you. Discussion. I will throw in real quick. This is a very well written, tight policy. Any more discussion? Okay.
Is this one we added the definitions to?
I think so, as I
Yeah.
recall.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I was going to say that.
Work study, yeah.
I think it was the only question before, and they're here,
Yeah.
so now it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Good
Davis.
stuff.
I'd forgotten about that, and as I read it today, it was like, wow, that's really good. Okay.
Yeah.
Vote. Davis.
Aye.
Nancy.
Aye.
Amy.
Aye.
Nicole.
Aye.
Beth Roy.
Aye.
Anne Marie,
Aye.
and Sarah.
Aye.
Okay. Option-based response to violent intruder drills. I will take a motion to approve.
This is Amy, so made.
Thank you, Amy.
I'll second.
Thank you, Sarah. Any discussion on this? I guess my quick question would be, are we, I see that biannual drills is crossed out. Is there a requirement for the number of drills you have to have, or?
Yeah,
Okay,
we get it from the state every year.
okay. So we're going on that because that's crossed out, we're just going on what the state requires then.
Correct.
Okay. Any other discussion?
That's okay.
Okay.
Can't seem to-
I will take a vote. Davis,
Aye.
Nancy,
Aye.
Amy,
So he can
Aye.
run-
Nicole,
We have to run
And that's why that noise, because I
feedback.
put my name.
Nicole.
You didn't hear me.
She-
Aye.
Oh, yep. No, I didn't hear you. Beth Roy,
Aye.
Anne Marie,
Aye.
and Sarah. And I am an aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Sarah. B5, prevention of employee harassment. I will take a motion to approve.
This Amy, so moved.
I'll second.
Thank you, Amy and Nancy. Any discussion? No. I'm not sure I'd be comfortable changing all of this because the law is very specific, and so meddling with this I think would just be a vote. No more discussion. I will take a vote. Davis,
Aye.
Nancy,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Nicole,
Aye.
Beth Roy,
Aye.
Anne Marie,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
and I am an aye. Thank you. B41, field trip. I will take a motion to approve.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
I will second.
Okay, thank you. I think that was Beth Roy. Discussion. My first question, can the draft come off the?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it will after tonight,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. And I want to thank whoever wrote the definition of a field trip. I think that works really well to exclude outdoor classrooms.
Yep.
So, any other discussion? Hearing none, we will take a vote. Davis,
Aye.
Nancy,
Aye.
Amy,
Aye.
Nicole,
Aye.
Beth Roy,
Aye.
Anne Marie,
Aye.
Sarah,
Aye.
and I am an aye. Okay. Little quick prequel here for C42, school entrance age. We have gotten a request from the Heartland kindergarten teachers to review this. And so I am not, I mean, this has been out there for quite some time, so I'm not inclined to stop to improve it. But does anybody feel strongly about that?
Bill, would it be okay if I just shared what they were requesting?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. It was, I'm just gonna pull it up so I get it right. It was, they wanted to discuss, the assessments. And the person that wrote it was an early ed interventionist, and the kindergarten teachers were on the email. And her request was to consider other assessments because she did not know if there would be additional assessments that could be included in the decision-making process. She also wondered if there could be an option to review a student's readiness if they complete the diagnostic and they are given the okay, they're ready for kindergarten. She requested perhaps there could be a readiness, a review of student's readiness after attending 45 to 70 days to ensure that it was beneficial for the student to attend kindergarten for the rest of that year, which would be tough on a student and a family, I think.
Yeah, I'm not inclined to. So using my chair position, I am actually going to call for a motion. And if people don't think they're ready, then they can just vote down the motion and we can look at it next month.
So moved.
We can't discuss like what the other assessments for the children might be or something like that? Like
Well, we can discuss it during the actual discussion after the motion is passed, then we can discuss it. And then if there is sufficient desire, we can just reverse the motion.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm open to options here. I want to have a discussion on their concerns, but I want to have a discussion within a motion. Anne Marie?
It seems to me like the first part of what she's saying, it's already kind of covered in the thing because it just says those are examples of.
Yes. Yeah.
It doesn't say that those are the be all to end all. So
right.
It could use a different one.
Yeah, I think, yeah. Do I have a second though? If not, we won't move forward.
I'm not quite sure what we're motioning and what we're seconding. I don't know.
What we're motioning is to approve the, I'm sorry, we're motioning to approve this, to approve it.
I'll make a second to approve it as is.
Yes.
Right? Okay,
yeah.
I'll make that motion to second.
Okay, discussion. I'll jump right in here, and then who is raising their hand? Is that Davis? Okay, yep. Yeah, Davis, please. I will wait.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing that Anne Marie did there. I think that it's not narrowing down to just Briggins, Patel, or whatever. The only other thing I could say is maybe to kind of allay those concerns is add in those parentheses or similar. Because that I think maybe just clarifies that, like, we're not saying it has to be one of these two. It's, for example, or these two or more.
Yep.
Just make it even grayer for the benefit of folks who might be worried it's not gray enough.
Yeah. Amy, are you raising your hand? There you go. I saw a flutter there.
Yeah, I am. So the other concern that they said, having a readiness test, exam, whatever, assessment, thank you. 75 days in. I'm not sure that that would be very beneficial overall for the child.
Right.
I can see the concern that a child who might have done okay on the assessment in the beginning might have, might be prone to a few more meltdowns and cause potentially a little bit more disruption in a classroom. But if you were to have that assessment and then send that child home and then they come back to school, I don't know where that is
Yeah.
serving the child at all.
And I think I want to jump on, add to what Amy said. I think the important thing here is that these assessments are diagnostics. Okay. So the data we get is really solid. If Katie wants to jump in and talk in about that as well, she's welcome to. But, when you use a diagnostic test, the data you receive is quite clear. Amy, I'm sorry. Did I cut you off?
No, not at all. I just wanted to add a little bit, just so it's not always perfect. I know of an instance where a child, the parents had all of the tests done. This was a few years ago. And said child, even though he was cognitively and somewhat emotionally ready, he developed some pretty severe explosive behavior because of all the pressure. And that could, according to teachers, could possibly have been alleviated had they not been put into kindergarten. So it all kind of depends on the child.
Yeah.
But I think once a child has been accepted through all of the assessments, that the school needs to put into place whatever supports are going to be needed for that child.
And if I think if child's going to have an assessment, then it should be at the end of or a review, it should be at the end of the year. If the school doesn't think that this student's ready to move on to first grade, then that discussion could happen with the parents in that whole same process. Katie, do you want to jump in and talk about any of what I mentioned about
Yeah, the couple of examples we gave for early learning assessments do cover some social emotional, but it's not the whole boat. I think in the past we've also had what we typically do with kindergartners. We talk to the pre-K teachers that had them. We do a transition, so to try to tease some of that out. And I agree. The assessment tools are wonderful, and they do also have limitations of knowing things. But I,
right,
and
but
they're only examples of diagnostic tools. That was the other. There's not a whole lot out there that, but those are the two sort of broad enough ones that we can use.
so Katie, I think what you're emphasizing, and correct me if I'm wrong, but these students are still going to be doing the same kindergarten screening as all the rest. Correct?
We didn't write that in the policy. I just read it quickly. We typically have had them also do the kindergarten screening steps, but
Okay.
if they're not identified till June, we did kindergarten screening in May. So,
Okay.
but we can have them also do the kindergarten screening. It'll look a little different just because of timing, but
Right.
that has been something we've done both.
Okay. Okay.
Bill, would we want to just add a sentence about that in the policy so it's clear that this process is in addition to standard kindergarten screening, if that is the expectation?
Well, do we want it to be the expectation? Okay. Katie's shaking her head. Yes.
The reason
Okay.
being, in addition to kindergarten, in addition to the test, there's OT and speech screenings that are done.
Yeah.
So I would say yes.
Yeah. I was definitely going to shift to you, Katie, on that. Okay. So, is there any other discussion?
Bill, just to be more specific on that, just looking at how this is written under waiver process / procedure, at the end of that sentence before the bullets, it says are eligible to apply for a formalized entrance waiver. I think we could just say in addition to the standard kindergarten screening process.
Yeah.
And I think that sets the expectation.
Okay. Okay. So I don't see it. Is there any other discussion? Before we move forward, I would like, I'm going to ask Christine to sort of read the whole sections that we're adding to, so we are clear on the edited version of this.
So under waiver process procedures, it will say parents, guardians of students turning 5 during the month of September are eligible to apply for a formalized waiver entrance in addition to the standardized screening, kindergarten screening process.
Okay.
And then under the first bullet, we're adding, this process includes a district-approved standardized diagnostic assessment, and listed for examples, Brigant's Early Childhood Assessment 3, Battelle Early Learning 3rd, or similar assessment, in parentheses, by a licensed psychologist, and then the rest of it remains the same.
Okay.
I mean, is that redundant? Because those are
No,
examples.
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. I think what that does is what I feel it does what Davis suggested, make it really clear that these aren't just the assessments we're using. And I think that might have been the confusion of the
person
Heartland.
Yep.
Yes. My only concern when we started discussing this is that the level of assessment would have been around that diagnostic level in which you get real data about the student to be able to move forward at that age. So, I mean, that's all. Any other discussion? Okay. Hearing none, I will take a roll call vote. And, for those of you who wish to wait another month, you're more than welcome to vote nay. Okay, Davis.
Aye.
Nancy.
Aye.
Amy.
This is to approve the policy as
Yes,
we
it
have.
is.
Okay.
Yes, with the 2 changes.
Right. Aye.
Okay. Nicole.
Aye.
Beth Roy.
Aye.
Anne Marie.
Aye. Aye.
Sarah.
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Okay, thank you. Good discussion. Next, E20 community use of school facilities, grounds, and fields. I will not take a motion because this is just a second read, but I will open the floor for discussions. See if I can find it here. In talking with Christine, one thing I suggested is during the superintendent shall establish procedures for use of school facilities, so forth and so on. And then there's a bunch of bullet points. Because we're adding grounds, I think some of the shall should be turned into may. For example, shall include a fee scheduled for facility grounds and field use. Because this is outside, it may not be required to charge a fee because there may not be, whatever the activity is, for example, a youth soccer league wants to use the soccer field. There may not be any cleanup cost for that or maintenance cost. Yeah, the same thing with the insurance. That it may be better to make that a may if someone wants to use the outside grounds for something. But I'm not sure. That's just one thing I thought of. Jennifer?
Okay, so I just want to note maybe West Windsor is different, but the lands, as I understand it, do not belong to the school, but they belong to the town. And I don't know how that would impact this or vice versa. So just want to put that out there.
Basically it impacts it is in non-school times, that's public property. So that's a really good point. The simple fact that Albert Bridge, those facilities would not be covered by, the question would be if those facilities would be covered by this policy, the grounds part. I don't think it can be.
Yeah, I think that's maybe a part of maybe something somebody needs to research is that all of a sudden the town responsibility versus the school responsibility.
Yeah.
School grounds.
So I don't know where exactly. Davis, I think you have a solution.
I don't know if I have a solution, but I got an idea. Is this something that maybe could be brought up to the select board in West Windsor? And maybe something like a memorandum of understanding could go out that's just like, during X hours. Because yeah, I think it does fall under their jurisdiction to decide who can be there and when. But that might be an opportunity to collaborate with that board and come to an agreement there.
Yeah,
So,
because the simple point is that, yeah.
That policy about it.
Yeah, can we apply this even during school hours without the cooperation of the select board? That's a good point, Davis.
I don't think that stops us from, advancing this with some of those mays and shalls or even passing if we get the third read. I think we just want to consider that in that case. And are we talking about the outdoor classrooms or does the town of West Windsor own the sports field?
My understanding is that they're in charge of all of the land that the school is on, and the school board is responsible for the actual building structure.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's more than your understanding, Jennifer. That's the actual structure of it. So yeah. Any outdoor? I don't think the policy needs to address the fact that, but maybe it does. The outdoor classroom's not on school property. I don't think we can apply that to those. Because they're probably on private property, then again, there's that cooperation piece with the landowners as well. If
Yeah,
we
the
want
outdoor
to,
classrooms currently at Albert Bridge are all on public property that are owned by the town, not any private lands.
Yeah.
But that includes our playground and our fields are also
Right.
public land.
Yeah, but I was putting it out there to all the other buildings as well. For example, if Weathersfield happened to have, or at some point down the road, wanted to create an outdoor classroom off of school land, but within that, how would this policy? I don't think this policy would cover that either, but I don't think it requires because you just have to come up with a verbal understanding with the landowners. Christine.
Yeah, the outdoor classroom space at Heartland is owned by the town, and we drafted an MOU for usage between the school and the town.
Okay.
So
yeah,
I can share that with Jennifer if that's helpful. Or, I guess we could change the language in the policy, school-owned grounds and fields.
Yes, I think that's probably the simplest way to look at this policy is that it would cover community use of school facilities, school grounds,
Yeah.
and school fields.
School
Don't
fields.
forget to put a comma after grounds.
Okay.
Or
will
no,
talk to you.
maybe no, that wouldn't be because that's grounds and fields. So no comma after. So
Okay.
it'd be school facilities, school grounds, and fields.
Yep.
Is that right? Because I'm sorry.
Well, we
This is
can
where
make
I
it
need
how we want.
Elizabeth. This is where I need Elizabeth to put in that grammar.
I think at the end of the day, I don't know that we necessarily need to change the wording here because school facilities, grounds and fields, to me, that implies that all of those are school things. So I think the real issue here, and I'm glad this got brought up, is that this will cover all of these school, et cetera. But we know that there are grounds that the schools use that aren't necessarily owned by the school. So, as it seems like Heartland's done this already, just going to the select board, having an MOU. I wonder if you could even have in that MOU a reference to this specific policy saying, the X select board will, adhere to the policy laid out by WSESU E20, about use of school grounds during these hours, or, you can work that out with whatever select board, but I think that's probably a decent starting point. But I don't think we necessarily need to change the language to reflect that in here. That's just it's my opinion.
Yeah, I guess I agree with Davis. Absolutely. I mean, I think that makes sense. And it simplifies the whole thing in which the policy itself covers school facilities, grounds, and fields. But it doesn't exclude the fact that if we want Albert Bridge to have the same level of control over their grounds during the school day, we just have to work with the select board. Okay. Is there any other discussion?
Did we want to just go through and make sure we had all the mays in there that we were gonna put in? I think you mentioned fee schedule, insurance coverage. Would that also go?
I was hoping that my reason was in mentioning that was to have Christine sort of go through this and use her own best judgment to choose which would be a shall and what should be a may. Because I'm not 100% sure that shall require all users to demonstrate adequate insurance coverage. Is that something that the school district actually wants to require? I
I'll
don't
work
know.
with Jim.
Yeah.
I mean, Jim helped with this, so.
Yeah, that's kind of what I thought.
Yeah.
The only other one that oh, sorry, Bill.
No, I'm sorry, Davis. Go ahead.
The only other one that just jumps out to me, and I mean, obviously you look at this with Jim and legal and whoever, but the firearm one, I think that could probably also be a may, right? Unless there's some particular reason not to have that as may. I don't know if that's up in the can of worms, but
I'll check on it.
Yep.
Yeah. Because well, yeah, because that. But isn't that, Christine? Doesn't your procedure cover that?
I believe so.
Yeah, I think we went all through that at one point.
I think we did. I'll check the procedure.
But that doesn't negate Davis's point that making it a may, because it could also be may not. It may,
Right.
could be just turned down. So,
yep.
But again, I would be happy to defer to your judgment, Christine, and those that you could talk to before next meeting.
Yep, you got it.
Okay. Any other discussion on this? Okay. Thank you. We're going to transition to budget discussion.
All right.
Handing it off to Larry or you,
There
Christine?
is here. Yep.
Okay.
You want to start? Well,
You want me to
you want to.
read it?
So I'll just recap. Last month, Larry shared the process we went through to develop the SU budget and the new budget book, which is pretty phenomenal.
I received feedback from several members of the board. I've incorporated that feedback, and I think I emailed you guys later that week of all the feedback, and made those changes to the budget book.
So there have been a couple questions. I know, Bill, you had a few questions. Larry got a question tonight from, I think, a Weathersfield BAC.
Well, I think we got feedback.
We got some feedback.
So I met with the Weathersfield BAC Tuesday, and there was questions about the SU budget. I answered them. I followed up with an email to the Weathersfield BAC with answers to the questions that I couldn't answer while I was driving when I got the call. And then, and I got some feedback tonight from Weathersfield BAC member. Would you like me to read it? It's not a long email. I got it 5 minutes prior to the meeting. Okay.
Larry, before you do that, I just want to clear up my questions. I had some questions about basically between how we came up with the staffing, and I got satisfactory answers. And then basically it was Larry was basing next year's staffing based upon this year's staffing and adding some future needs. And Katie also answered a couple of my questions quite well. So thank you, Larry. I just wanted to point that out, that all my questions were answered quite well. Go ahead, Larry.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you. So again, I'm just going to read it verbatim. Hello, Larry, Brian, everyone. I wanted to share some thoughts and feedback for your consideration. In reviewing the draft SU budget, the increase for paraprofessionals in lieu of full-time staff merits a relook for a few reasons. I believe most residents and parents would rather see a modest increase for full-time staff, better paid full-time staff, than reliance on a large growth of paraprofessionals. It does not appear that the draft budget adequately documents the FTE requirement, increase formula, statistical rationale. 2, the attached report from the Vermont Agency of Education has some valuable information that should be considered. For example, on page 50, reliance on special education paraprofessionals may be seen as a result of other education teachers and specialists that are spread too thin. In many high-performing school systems, there are no paraprofessionals for students with mild to moderate academic disabilities, and students with severe special needs are shared across paraprofessionals. The above average staffing of paraprofessionals, including through one-on-one services and in small group settings, may have unintended consequences, potential impacts, including students' interactions with highly skilled classroom educators and less interaction with their student peers, end quote. 3, and this is the final bullet, Vermont is in the midst of an affordability crisis, and greater rigor can be exercised to put the budget increases more in line with what the members of the community can afford. The large increases in special education do not seem to be statistically in line with the increases in the demand for special ed IEP populations. These are just some of my thoughts and are offered in order to exercise fiscal constraint in these difficult economic times in Vermont. Sincerely, Dr. August T. Murray. And we just got this 5 minutes before the meeting, so I wanted to share it.
Thank you, Larry.
Yeah.
Anne Marie?
I was actually I don't know if you're planning to hold a vote on the budget tonight or not. I was just hoping that maybe we could hold off due to the fact that we have kind of scarce participation, that maybe we should wait until we have a fuller board of people to approve it. And also wait to maybe hear what if Katie has any response to the email that was just read.
Yeah, I'll let you take that, Katie, because I have a response, and I prefer to keep my mouth shut on that. Because, but let's. I don't know if Anne Marie, did you get your question about answer to? That's a possibility about delaying. I'd like to hear from Larry after Katie about the importance of the timeline of approval as well before we consider that point. Katie.
I believe the person who emailed, was talking about the GMG report and the recent report by the AOE, which does have the ideal staffing ratios based on a study that was done several years ago. And some of that has already influenced some of our initial reduction in support staff and increasing teachers several years ago. One of the things in this budget consideration is that we have to plan for what we have right now on paper for students on IEPs. As we move and improve our system and look to increase professional staff and decrease paraprofessional staff and the reliance on that, it has to be driven by what's on individual plans as they're written now. So I think that as we have to plan for next year's budget and as we have individual discussions about each student, we can't make individual decisions about each student's needs for supports and services based on a report. We can talk about some of the other aspects of that report and some of the strategies that we can use to as a system to look at becoming more aligned with the information and with the ideal ratio. And I think have started those discussions and we continue to do so. But there's a lot of factors going on. And the ability to instantly just drop numbers and not have what's written on paper is just not something it's responsible for us to do to provide services for students. So I understand it. We've talked, Christine, Larry, and I have talked this through several times, and we're looking at what systems pieces we can put together to move towards this, but it is not something that we would be able to meet for next year's budget by any stretch of the imagination. It's just, we have what we have right now for students on IEPs, and we're not the only district. We're all grappling with this. So there's my, Christine, and we've talked about it several times.
We talked at length about it. Larry, Katie, and I, and looked at it from all angles, and Katie's not wrong. It's a system shift that is going to take some time to implement, one IEP at a time, to be honest with you.
One classroom and IEP at a time. It's big, a systems piece.
Yeah.
10 years. That's what it takes to make this type of system shift. 10 years. It takes a decade. And people could say 5 years. That's not the case. When we moved to standards-based grading, it took about 10 years until it really began to tweak in a little bit. And so thank you, Katie. That's you said everything I wanted to be said. So I appreciate your coming tonight and giving your input. Is there any other discussion? Okay. Now we're going to get to, oops, let's see, where did I go? I think the next portion of the agenda is budget adoption. This kind of gets into what Anne Marie was talking about. We do have how many members tonight? 8? Christine, we have 8.
I think you have 8 now. Yeah, let me just double check. 1, 2, 3.
Nikki did have to leave.
5, 6,
Yep.
7. Oh, she did. So 7. If Nikki's gone, we have 7.
Do we still have a quorum?
We have 7. Yes, Amy said we just need 7 for quorum.
So
that's what she told us.
Larry, what's your timeline?
Yeah, so as far as making sure we have a full board here, as Anne Marie outlined, I think it's a prerogative of the board, obviously. I know that members of the SU Budget Committee, 2 of the people that are missing, Sarah was on it, Elizabeth is on it, and Ryan from Heartland was on it. and 2 of them are not here. So they worked with us on the budget. You know, so Ryan and Elizabeth, who aren't here, worked with us on it, as well as Sarah, who is here. The SU Budget Committee has met since September 6th. It's currently November 25th. We had 4 SU Budget Committee meetings. We, it was online, on the website and emailed to the board since October 18th. So it's been over a month. If you want to wait a few more weeks, you could do that. I don't know I guess if you're delaying the vote for changes that would be requested, I'd like to hear the changes so I can make those changes before the next meeting. If there's something that's gonna be a material change to the budget, that would be good for me to know. If it's just, to have it more public, I mean, it's been out in the superintendent's newsletter. I don't know how to make it, I mean, so.
Yeah, thank you, Larry. I want to take Anne Marie's concern quite seriously, and I will call on her in a minute. But I think waiting for the next meeting, in next board meeting is probably waiting a little too long. But I am more than willing to call an additional board meeting for a vote just for this in a time in which we have at least closer to a full board. If that would satisfy people more. I don't really want to wait to the next. I agree with Larry. I don't want to wait for the next SU board meeting, which is also in a crazy time, to consider this if there isn't any significant changes to it. Anne Marie?
I don't imagine that there'll be any significant changes to it, but I just, for the sake of transparency and I don't know, I just feel like the more board members we can have voting on it, the better. But I wouldn't want, if we do a additional meeting, I would want to make sure that it's at a time that people can attend, the public can attend, not, we got some flack about the time, and it was mostly my fault probably for being on vacation, but the time that whereas the bus thing was discussion was during. So I just would want to make sure that we would schedule that for a time that was,
in the evening.
As transparent as we can. Let people, if they want to say something, say something.
Thank you, Anne Marie. Sarah?
I was just gonna say, I mean, obviously, like I said, Larry said, I helped work on this. I think the transparency is there as far as the information. I mean, it was out there very early. The budget book is very thorough, and all the information is there for the public, for board members, for all the local schools. So I feel like the information's out there, and if we had more feedback, hopefully we would have received it. I agree. I would like more SU board members to be there for our vote. So I probably would request also maybe a separate special meeting where we vote on that and just give everybody on the board a heads up that we really need attendance, just to create more transparency with that. But I think the information has been out there. So people should be ready for a vote, and or the public has been well informed if they're looking for it.
Davis? Thank you, Sarah.
Yeah, and I hear and I understand and I agree with in principle the idea of having a more full quorum to vote on something as important in the budget. But I guess I want to push back gently on kind of 2 points on that. One is that as far as community understanding and transparency, this process happens roughly on the same timeline every single year. So I think that, to me, like, we heard feedback from a member of the committee that came in tonight, The agendas are out there. This isn't really a moving target as far as when it happens. So I guess I don't know what kind of value as far as feedback we might buy by scheduling another meeting. I don't know how much we're going to get out of that. And then I guess I'm a little bit cautious about doing a special meeting and necessarily expecting that we are going to have more of a forum, because it's been my experience with special meetings is that it a lot of times tends to be harder to get a full quorum. And I know that we're right on the eve of a holiday right now, but the next several weeks, we're going to be in that time of year where people's schedules, I think, are particularly difficult. So I guess that what I wouldn't want to have happen is that we don't approve it tonight. We go through the trouble of scheduling a special meeting, and then we end up with like 7 or 8 people again. Because then that's just time spent on logistics for kind of the same result, and less time where we have an approved budget and we can start working with that. So I don't know, that's my thoughts on that.
And transparency was brought up a couple times, and I think this is the 4th year I think we've done the SU budget committee made up of board members. And one thing I think that's been really transparent this year, we've gone above and beyond as far as I can tell, in that we've warned the SU budget committee, not just the board meetings, all those meetings, we've warned them that we pay people to take minutes. We have video of those meetings. So, I mean, I can't think of a more transparent process by Robert's rules that we have done than this SU budget committee, which I think is great as a citizen, as a taxpayer myself. I think it's great. So I want to applaud, Sarah, Ryan, and Elizabeth for that, because we weren't doing that before. This was the most transparent SU budget we've created.
Okay, Amy.
Thank you. When Anne Marie first brought this up, I thought that it's somewhat reasonable or understandable, wanting more board members so each of our districts has their full representation when we go to vote. But at the same time, holding it up, as Davis was saying, the individual districts need to be looking at their budgets, and the SU is that this budget is a large part of the local budgets, and we need to be working on that and figuring out where we need to be for those. So I'm not sure that delaying is going to do anyone any favors.
Thank you, Amy. Beth Roy.
As the only Heartland School Board member here, I'd like to see it delayed. Just since I'm the only one here, I really would like other ones here. And I know Nikki bowed out because she just is ill. So so I think there's considerations to be made. I also know me looking over the agenda as just a human, I said, holy moly, are we joking? Are we really voting on the budget already? And I think I've done this for 8 years. So, I mean, it just sneaks up on people. As much as we say we've been transparent and this happens every year, like I just don't think a traditional community member is out there thinking about the school budget right now whatsoever. They're going to think about it as soon as the taxes are starting to be talked about. So, I mean, if we delay it a couple of weeks and we are able to even get out more word around reviewing it, where it is on the website, where the meetings are, just to know what the process is, and getting, advertising what the budget building process is for all our districts, I think would be, it can't hurt in my mind.
Okay. Now, is there any more discussion? Okay. And anyone can disagree with me, but not a but. Anyone disagree with me? I believe this is my decision. Okay. I am not particularly comfortable with one Heartland board member voting tonight, as well as the other school. I I think that's a really important point that Beth Roy make. At the same time, I don't feel that we need to actually get a lot of any more transparency in the budget process. I am going to ask Christine to put out a Google poll to see if we can gather a vote in the evening, same time as we always do, 6:30, far enough out to warn it for the week of December 2nd or the week of December 9th. Earlier the better. Okay. And so that we can get more representation from all the school districts. So that is my decision. Yes, Amy.
Thank you. Also, to just remind all of the board members that if having board representation to vote on this, they need to be here.
Yes, thank you, Amy. That's a really good point. Okay. FY26 draft calendar.
Yeah, I think it's linked on your agenda, but I just shared it with all of you. I can pull it up on my screen. And I just want to talk about a couple of quick things. It is a draft. I have met with the union once, and by contract, they get to look at it with us. All right, can everybody see that? The exciting thing about this calendar is we've been working as a region to get the same start date, February break and April break. This year that was extended across the state, across the tech centers. They really drive this calendar because they receive students from different districts. So it's really helpful if the calendars align. So I think at my last meeting with them Friday, there may be one holdout district, but the rest of the state is in alignment with at least the start date and the February and the April breaks. And you will notice the February and April breaks are a little bit later on this calendar. That was a negotiation, I believe, between the tech centers. Up north, a lot of school districts take that last week in February, and then they take Monday and Tuesday in March because oftentimes school districts take town meeting day off. We don't in this area, so those are not on our calendar, but the February and the April and the start dates align. So it's just a draft. I wanted to get it in your hand so you could look at it. The union's looking at it. I meet with them before our next SU meeting with their feedback, and then we'll bring a final draft to you hopefully in December. But if there are any questions, at first glance, I'm happy to try to answer them.
Absolutely. Early release days.
Yes.
That was a topic last year. I was hoping to get it down to 5 this year, but that was just my opinion.
I think we may have, Bill. We did eliminate one, but maybe it's not 5. Let me look. I think it's 6 we have. It's 6. Yeah. It's 6.
Was it 6 last year? I think it was 6 last year. Was it 7?
No, it was 7. We did eliminate one.
Okay, so I'm not going to complain about that because you've made progress.
Thank you. We did. No, we listened. We talked about it. I think that at first glance, the one thing the teachers noticed was in November, we've got one early release. That's parent-teacher conference. So the thinking is maybe moving that early release to Friday, having Monday be the parent-teacher conference full day, and then because Veterans Day is a Tuesday, and you have to hold Veterans Day on the actual federal holiday. So that may be a change back.
Yeah, but in negotiations, which apply to this year, I believe we discussed removing that half day before negotiations and allowing
did.
teachers.
I don't know if we got that, Bill, but I'll look. We did talk about it at length. I do remember that.
Yeah, we'll have to look at the notes because I thought that
Okay.
we were able to get rid of that half day and then allow teachers to schedule their conferences whenever they'd like, so that if they were done Thursday the 6th,
Yep.
they could have that day off. But
We'll definitely check back on that one
yeah,
in
check
the
that note.
contract.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So that's it. I just wanted it in your hands early.
Okay.
So.
Amber, that said, it is in the wait. Amber, that went away.
It's in the comments section though.
Yeah. Ooh. Right, but I was on a small screen looking at it. So let me go. Okay, so Amber, it is in the contract that it's 2 full days, 1 in the fall and 1 in the spring. Yes.
No
That
half
was it.
days?
No half days. Yep.
Okay.
We'll have to look at that. I thought there was a change. What a
I will
memory,
definitely
Amber.
look at that.
Yep. And then because it's just a single day, and then within the contract, teachers can take, say, 2 weeks
Right.
before and do conferences at the beginning of the day and conferences at the end of the day or in the evening if they'd like, and get them done, and then have that day free to enjoy their freedom because they worked really hard to get it done at times in which it was more convenient for parents and teachers. So that was sort of the point of it, and allowing trust and professionalism to reign.
So we'll double check that, and if that's the case, which I'm sure Amber has a better memory than I, that will
Yep.
be less early release days, which would be great.
Okay. Any other discussion on the calendar? Okay. I've kind of lost my place here. Budget Dobson. Calendar. Resignation.
I am going to open with your permission, Bill. Angie is here, and she would like
Yep.
to read a letter to the board.
Hello, everybody. I am reading an abridged version of the letter. I will be sending the complete letter. I mentioned it's lengthy because I mentioned a lot of names. In the spirit of gratitude, it being Thanksgiving in a few days, I am submitting I'm formally announcing that after 30 years, I will be retiring on June 30th, 2025. This decision comes with immense gratitude and pride as I reflect on a fulfilling and transformative career. Serving the students, staff, and families of WSESU has been one of the greatest privileges of my life. My journey began in 1994 as a paraprofessional at State Street School, now part of Windsor School. The following year, I joined Heartland Elementary School, where I spent 18 years in the classroom teaching grades 3 through 8, not all at the same time, with 16 years devoted to middle school math, a passion that shaped me as an educator. During that time, I worked with so many amazing teachers and administrators who shared my values, challenged my thinking, and helped me to grow. In 2013, I transitioned to the Academic Intervention Coordinator role under Dr. David Baker's leadership, which expanded my impact. With encouragement from Principal Jeff Marino and later the support of Mary Margaret Hitchcock and Principal Sean Pickett, I pursued administrative roles, culminating in my current position as Curriculum Director of Windsor Southeast. This is my 8th year. This role has allowed me to bring my passion for student-centered learning and teacher empowerment to the forefront. I hope my work has reflected my values of authenticity, meaningful collaboration, and empathy, leaving a positive impact on our system. I'm deeply grateful to the many colleagues and mentors who have shaped my career. To name a few here: Christine Bourne, whose leadership and positivity have guided me through challenges. My incredible team, Patty Gray, Wendy Moody, and Tracy Price, for your insight and dedication. The central office and tech team, we have the best going out there. You've made my work enjoyable and impactful. To the instructional coaches and administrative team, your dedication and vision inspire me. You truly represent the best of what we strive for in education. Lastly, to my family, Brett, Jacob, Sydney, and Whitney, thank you for your unwavering support. I look forward to spending more time with you in the years to come. To the students, families, staff, and the board members who have been at the heart of my work, your resilience, curiosity, and passion have been my greatest motivators. It has been an honor to serve alongside such extraordinary individuals in pursuit of public education's mission, a brighter future for all. Sincerely, Angela Dill.
Thank you, Angie.
You're welcome.
That was well written. My assumption here is that we have to vote on this, Christine?
Yeah, you can accept Angie's resignation tonight.
Okay. I will, Angie's resignation, as of the end of the fiscal year?
Yes.
Okay. Make that very clear, which is the day
2:30.
before. Yeah, 2:30. Okay, I will take a motion. Oh, Amy?
Yeah, so the motion is from Amy to not accept, no, not really. To accept with great gratitude for all that you've done and just for helping all of us to better understand how the curriculum and student data all work together to make us a better board and to help our administrators and to make a better learning experience for all of our kids. Thank you, Angie.
You're welcome.
Any other comments? No. Do we have a second?
I'll second it. Yeah.
Okay.
Seconded with gratitude.
Yes. Okay. I will call the vote with gratitude. Davis?
Aye.
Nancy?
Aye.
Amy?
Aye.
Beth Roy?
Aye.
Anne Marie?
Aye.
Sarah?
Aye.
And I am an aye. Thank you, Angie.
Oh, it's also accepting with envy.
With envy, yes. Yes. Goodness gracious.
A lot of people have been saying that, so.
Yeah. I am jealous. The simple fact that unfortunately, well, I won't say unfortunately because it's with the addition of a young child, I've had to put mine off in the unforeseen future. Okay, so congratulations, Angie. Absolutely.
Thank
Okay.
you so much.
Moving on, superintendent's report.
All right, let me share my screen. Oops. Let me get back to the beginning. That's the end. Hold on one second. Quick preview. All right. Okay, included in my report tonight, there are two procedures. Sorry.
That's all right.
Sorry. D22 is a selection of library materials, and C15, procedures for student conduct and discipline. I will let you know that the selection of library materials was created by the librarians across the SU. They worked really hard to put those procedures together. And if you haven't had a chance to look at them, they're well thought out and pretty clear. The procedures for student conduct and discipline really match and outline what we do in terms of conduct and discipline. So those are the two that I just wanted to bring to your attention tonight. Obviously, if you have questions or concerns, reach out, let me know. They're always a work in progress and get tweaked as needed. So I wanted to bring those to you tonight. My second slide, I wanted to share conference data. We just completed our fall conferences, and the data across the SU is to be expected, and I guess some areas where we're looking at why the percentages were low and what we can do to increase those. So typically K-5 conferences are very well attended. They start to taper off at the middle level and really taper off at the high school. I know currently the high school team is talking about student-led. We're all going to do student-led conferences in the spring, and we hope that having the students lead the conversation with their families will increase those numbers even more. So that's a work in progress. I know there were some conferences that were offered as remote, and that did certainly help to create some ability for parents to be able to attend. Phil, did you have a question, or was that your question?
Yeah, the remote piece. That was my question.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. This is the DIBELS data. As you know, we've been talking about the new literacy law that's gone into effect. We were just told by the agency that we need to send out parent letters within 30 days of delivering the assessment that we're going to use. And that was a little surprising to us, as the AOE has been mentioning that they're going to be sending out recommendations for assessments to use. So we did DIBEL our students, and this is the data. Came out of EduClimber. As you can see in the red, that's those kids, and this is first, second, and third grade scores. We have a significant amount of students in the intensive support realm, so we've got some work to do to make sure that we're meeting the needs of all those students. But if your child is in that realm, you will receive a letter from your school district letting parents know where their children are at, and some opportunities to support their children at home through early literacy work as well. So this is new. I plan to bring the data to you regularly as we work through it, and hope those trends start to improve. And they do, by third grade. The number of intensive support needs are less, but there's still too many for our liking. We know how important literacy is. So
what is the 24, 25? Is that the date?
Yeah, that's this. It's the fall, the fall of the 24-25 school year.
Oh,
yeah. That's what that means. I wanted to let you know that we are working with local budget advisory committees. They are scheduled, which is good news. Mount Scottney is December 17th. Heartland is December 9th, I believe. Weathersfield, Brian is running those on his own, so I don't have the dates on those with Larry's support as needed, or my support as needed. But they're scheduled. They'll be warned. Our goal in these budget advisory committees is for the committees to bring recommendations to the board. Larry and I have talked how difficult it is if you're in a budget advisory committee and you're directly having recommendations. We feel like those need to go through the board before Larry makes any adjustments to the budget. So hopefully people think that makes sense. And we are waiting for the December 1 tax rate letter to come in, and the tax sheet that Larry has to go through before we'll have tax rates and per pupil cost, but that should probably be late December.
Mid to late December.
Mid to late December.
Yeah, the December 1st tax rate letter will tell us what the yield is, but that doesn't really help us.
Right.
I mean, it's good, because if it's a higher number, that's good for tax rates. If it's a lower number, that's bad for tax rates. So it'll give you an idea. But.
All right. I linked this in my report, and I'll share it with you. Lori's off this week, so she didn't link my report to the agenda, but I'll get it to you. If you didn't see this already, she did send it out to you. It's a pretty well written, I think, document that explains the funding system so that more people can understand it, because it's pretty complex in Vermont. So that is just for your perusal. And I did put it in my, it's going in my next newsletter for the public to be able to look at as well. And Larry, you put it on the website last week, I believe.
Yeah.
So it is out there. I wanted to follow up at the SU level. As you know, we had some acts of hate or some hate speech that we were working through at the beginning of the year. I will say we had a visitor at, we had some student visitors at the Mount Scottney board meeting a couple of months ago, but these acts are not just in isolation at Windsor. They are across the SU. So we've been working with Heather Lynn and her team on a policy, an acts of hate policy that she has drafted, and she shared with me. Tracy's seen it, Kate's seen it. She is coming to the administrative team meeting on December 17th to really go through it with a fine-tooth comb. And then I would like to invite her to a board meeting if the board would allow that in either December or January, because I think it's important for her to walk through it with you. There's a lot of legal stuff involved, First Amendment rights, etc. So if that, and I can talk to you offline, Bill, about that, but I think it would be important for her to come and talk to you as well. So I just wanted you to know we haven't forgotten it. We're still working on it. The board survey, I have the results to share with you. Let me just pull them, share the screen instead. Hold on. And I can share this out. 5 board members have taken it, so I think we need to get some more input from board members, so I will send it out again. But this is what it's looking like so far in terms of priority of goals. The first goal, I'll just remind you quickly because they're not up there. The first goal was for the board to develop and implement a structured process for soliciting, reviewing, and responding to input from staff and community stakeholders to ensure that policy decisions reflect diverse perspective and meet the needs of the school community. That one scored pretty high, first and second priority out of the 5 that took the survey. The second goal is the board will establish and follow a structured process for the regular evaluation of its performance in meeting established board goals. This process will ensure accountability, continuous improvement, and alignment with the district's mission and strategic priorities. So that's just checking in on how your goals are going. The third was the board will ensure that student progress is monitored through comprehensive data analysis disaggregated by gender, race, and socioeconomic status. This approach aims to identify and address achievement gaps, support equitable opportunities, and enhance the success of all students. And then the last one is that the board will conduct an annual evaluation of the superintendent's performance to ensure accountability, support continuous improvement, and align leadership efforts with district goals and strategic priorities. So thank you for those of you that were able to complete the survey. It's really quick, so I'll send it out again, and then hopefully next month we'll be able to really select the goals that you want to focus on. 5 so far. It's a busy time of year, so totally understandable. I'll just get back to where I was. The first quarter financials are in. If you notice that we are there is a difference, but we're not worrying because all the revenue's not in yet, according to Larry. We have encumbered most things.
Yeah, the major sources of revenue being from the state for special ed intensive needs revenue, the block grant, which is not given out one time a year. It's given out throughout the year. And then the local assessments, which we don't encumber all of it. We do it as budgeted per cash flow needs.
But we are pretty confident that we're on track budget-wise.
Yes.
The audits are on the website. I just wanted to point that out to you. Larry's done a great job of making sure everything is out in the public, and you can see it. FY 22 and 23 are on the website. We will receive 24 later this year, but we do not expect any material findings. We are considered a low-risk oddity. Correct, Larry?
Yes.
We don't get many findings, which is great.
Awesome.
So those are on the website for everyone to look at. I just wanted to briefly end my report with my plan for, and I think Angie just jumped off, which is, she knows this is coming, but probably less awkward if she's not online. I intend to post the position sooner rather than later for the Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment. So I've outlined some steps I wanted to run through with you and get your feedback. And if you want changes, now would be a great time to kind of voice those. Step one will be to develop a screening committee consisting of a representative group. And so suggested committee members, CIA admin assistant, these are Angie's team members, curriculum and instruction specialist, classroom teachers. Obviously we want representation from each district, MTSS leader, support staff member, special ed representative, equity coach, board member, student. That committee will be provided some prep and some training materials. As you know, Tracy and I and Larry and Tina have been working on hiring practices, so we've got some good materials to use for that process. This committee would be in charge of reviewing the resumes, selecting and interviewing candidates, and identifying 2 top candidates to move forward in the interview process. Step 2 in that process would be interviews with the second tier team, which would be myself, the principals, the Director of Special Education, DEI coordinator. I think it's really important for all of those people, all of those stakeholders that work closely with the CIA director to have an opportunity to be part of that committee to interview at the second level. And then we would check references, complete this form that goes to Human Resources, and we would put forward a candidate to the school board. My question for the board is, do you want a larger role in that process, or is representation on the interview committee feels like enough? Or would you like something different? Would the board want to have a select group of board members interviewing the person? So I'd love to hear some of your thoughts on that.
I think we should have, I think we should have some level of board participation.
What are you thinking, Bill? I put one on the initial committee, a board member, if someone chooses to do that. But
yeah,
if there's, the board would like to interview the person, I think that's great too.
So to have a committee and then have the board, I think it's really important that the board participate as much as possible. This position is nearly as important as a superintendent position, and so I think that coming up with 2 or 3 candidates and then having the board interview, that's my opinion, and I'm more than willing to hear other opinions.
Do you want, just a clarifying question, you want the whole SU board, or would you want representative board members on the second interview committee with the ad team?
At a minimum, I'd like, I feel it would be important to have representation from each of the 3 districts,
Okay.
but that's at a minimum. I think I don't know. I'd like to hear from other people. Davis.
Yeah, Bill, I agree largely with what you're saying. I think that because we're doing this at the SU level, I would even say a representative from each town, because that's how we look at the makeup of this board.
Yep.
Yeah,
So,
that's what I was saying. As a minimum, though, someone else just raised their hand and they disappeared on me.
Let me stop sharing and then you can see.
Sarah.
It's
Sarah.
Sorry, it was me, Sarah. I agree. Maybe a representative at the minimum from each town would be helpful.
Yeah. Sarah?
Sorry, no, I'm just getting happy with my raised hand. I didn't mean to double click. Sorry.
Yeah, so I don't think this is something we have to decide tonight, or even that we're going to decide. So, well, I think we are going to decide. So, I think that's our minimum at this point.
Got it. That's helpful.
Anne Marie?
I also feel like more than one board member on the initial committee, but I don't like maybe one from each town on the initial committee also.
Yeah.
I can do that. Okay, that is really helpful. We want to get the right person. It's an important job. So, that concludes my report. I'm happy to turn it over to you, Bill. Back to you, Bill.
No, back to me. And then I'm going to hand it off to Tracy.
All right. So thank you all. I do want to share we're doing everything that we said we're going to do. So I feel like we're on track, and that's my report. No. But I will share my screen and just share a couple of updates. All right. So please stop me at any point if you have any questions or want to share anything. And one, I just want to note that feels like people are feeling lots of different things these days. Lots of different things. I mean, our students, our staff, you all as board members, things are uncertain about what we can expect coming next year, and I want to say, and I think a lot of these slides really speak for themselves in terms of the support that you all have offered as a board and our administrative team in really doing this work. And when I say this work, when I think about diversity, equity, inclusion, I'm really amazed how there are so many people who seem to know what that is exactly, I think that there are a lot of people who think it may be this or it may be that, but at the end of the day, it's really about building a culture of belonging and safety. And so I just always want to think about how we come back to that and frame it within that way of thinking about safety and belonging, and how when everybody is safe and thriving, we are all better for it. So really at the heart of this work, that's my belief, is that we're stronger together, we're meant to be here together, and this is a little bit of how we can help support some of that and what's possible. So this was something, Christine may have shared this with you all during your summer retreat. This was a graphic that I had promised to share or put together that represented some of the intersections between things like diversity, equity, and inclusion, and all of these other things that we've been doing over these years, right? We've been talking a lot about restorative practices and trauma-informed and transformed approaches and social emotional learning and collaborative problem solving. They're all part of this. They're all part of this work, right, of creating authentic relationships and belonging. And so this was just my attempt to try and capture how some of these things are interconnected. Could have been moved around a little bit differently, but the whole point is that there's so many things to think about in terms of identity, in terms about our lived experiences, and what will help support us in showing up as all of who we are, right? So this is, again, when I think about like DEI, some people are like, well, that's just about race. It's not just about race. It's about all these aspects of identity. And a lot of these come into play when we think about like the educational quality standards that are coming out of the state that we're going to be required to meet. All of these things are supported lots of different ways. So this was an attempt just to show some of the interconnectedness of all of these and how they work together. A lot of words on the screen. You all have access to the slides, so it's just breaking down the different parts of that graphic. This is also something looking back from 2013. I know there was also work happening before then. This was something, thanks to Jennifer Aldrich, really for putting some of this together, looking at like the trauma champions as they came to be. So this is looking, if we think about that pedal of DEI and the connections to all those other things that we've been doing over the years, this is just some of that work. So that's a lot of work, a lot of partnerships, and a lot of support, again, from you all as board members and from administrators, making sure this kind of stuff is happening. So yeah, a bit of a timeline. And this is the part where I said I shared, you know, this is the instructional leadership plan that we had worked on. This is the way I thought of reporting back to you, like where we're at. So all the things that you're going to see in green are things either that we are working on, that are in progress, that are in process. And I can just tease out a couple of highlights. One being that we have our first all-day DEI in-service day coming up January 6th. And so did want to actually invite you all as board members to join us for the morning sessions. We'll have 2 speakers. One is a new consultant who we're working with who does gender inclusion work. And Bill, I'm guessing you probably had a chance to work with Laura Pascoe. She worked with Hartford schools, looking at alignment with with transgender, non-binary policies, how that was supported by staff and schools. And so she's going to be one of our morning speakers. So we have a couple morning speakers, and in the afternoon, we're going to have 5 breakout sessions that we have already released to all staff to start to sign up for these sessions. And one of the sessions includes, like Davis, you mentioned the Human Rights Commission. They're doing a short session in the afternoon that relates to the all-day training they're doing December 12th. So it's giving us a lot to think about, right? In terms of like the hate incident policy, right? How are we thinking about, how are we puzzling all of these things together and making meaning out of it? So there are going to be a bunch of sessions for folks to pick from in the afternoon. The idea being that schools and groups can break up into the different sessions, bring back what they learned for the benefit of the rest of their teams. So we'll have restorative practices, we'll have collaborative problem solving, we'll have something around prevention of harassment, more around gender inclusion, and education quality standards. So Mike McGrath from the Vermont Principal Association will be here talking about the education quality standards. So we have equity coaches in place this year, which is amazing, having a team of folks across our SU who are getting into the practice of coordinating and collaborating with each other across our SU, because this is new, right? I mean, they haven't had people to learn from or find out, like, what are you doing in your staff meeting in Wethersfield, and how can that connect to maybe something that we're doing in Heartland? So I just keep thinking of like, how are we working smarter, not harder? And each school has its own culture, but there are certain things that can connect across all of our schools, right? Like, how are we talking about and starting to implement like group agreements or norms, right, for adults in our buildings? How are we able to give and receive like feedback with each other, have difficult conversations? All of that is really part of the work. So still meeting monthly with our administrative team leaders for an hour. We also have a couple days throughout the year where we've been getting together and doing, it's not quite a full day, a little less than a full day, meetings to deepen our shared understanding around diversity, equity, inclusion, and how we're working together to do this. And all of this is in support ultimately of our policies. So we did the first DEI training with all staff this year. We actually reviewed some of our policies. And for a lot of people, that was the first time they had seen, right? Like, oh, we have an anti-racism policy, or we have a transgender policy, or an equity policy. And so it was like scratching the surface on work I think we can continue to deepen. But everybody got that. Everybody got common language, some of the same things that I've been doing with you all over the last year. Oh, what else? We're also talking about ways to collaborate around school assemblies across the SU. We've been looking into some anti-bullying assemblies, which could actually pair. The Human Rights Commission is doing these bystander intervention. They're starting, I don't think they're done with the program yet, but it's a training program for high school students, for community members that could pair with an anti-bullying assembly. It's like all the ways that we want to really engage, especially students, to be leaders in disrupting hate as it's happening in our schools, right? So that we don't have to rely just on a policy and process, but that we actually have a culture of people who are engaged in supporting all that when it happens. Let's see, this is the creating and sustaining safer, braver spaces, right? Like I said, we're really working to operationalize some norms and agreements in our schools, because that's gonna ultimately help support our, having, when things get really challenging and difficult, being able to have some agreements to fall back on is very essential. Still exploring, the counselors across our SU are doing cultural assessments, but we're starting conversations about what's the one cultural assessment that we can do each year in the fall and the spring that's actually going to give us information that we can use, that we can do something with. I don't know if y'all saw, I think Elizabeth Burrows sent out an email about the YRBS data, Youth Risk Behavior Survey data that was from 2023. That's now out. It's nothing surprising in there, right? I mean, we're concerned about the mental health of students, right? And it's no surprise that students of color, LGBTQIA+ students with disabilities are the ones who are consistently experiencing disparate impacts. Doesn't mean that everybody else isn't feeling something too, right? We know that it's not like we work with one group at the expense of another, right? It's how do we support everybody where they're at, because a lot of people are struggling. We may be revisiting, training students in hazing, harassment, and bullying. Looking at how are we doing all of that in our schools? Do students know, what's going to happen? We keep saying, out in the real world, if you say some of the things that you may be saying in schools, you're going to have very different outcomes. So how do we get more in the practice of that? What else? I think we still have a lot of work to do around looking at an audit of our physical buildings, even signage within them, working with Kate to look at, is there signage we can put on our ramps, right? To help prevent them from getting blocked for people who really do need to use them. So those kinds of things. Like Christine mentioned, we're always looking at behavior protocols and ways we can update those. I mean, those handbooks and our discipline guides are really continual works in progress. So that's why you see that in orange on the bottom there. It's these are ongoing for how we can continue to update these. And then, like I mentioned, having this team of equity coaches is really, it's great. We have a team of support across our schools. They are leading some staff meetings, getting some input from staff about what they think, what their needs are, what kinds of capacity building or trainings they're interested in, how we support students. There are a number of different schools that actually have students who lead trainings on things like microaggressions or hazing, harassment, and bullying. So working to connect with those student groups to see how we can how we can get some of our students to become members of the Vermont Student Anti-Racist Network, or maybe if they experience a student-led training from another group, maybe they'll see that this is something that's possible for us to build to here also. We've been working, like Christine mentioned, Larry, Tina, and I really working on hiring practices and bringing in, I've mentioned before, the Diversifying the Educator Workforce in Vermont is this coalition of folks in the state who are developing a toolkit to help support all of us in really thinking about how we are not just recruiting, but how we're recruiting, retaining, promoting a more diverse workforce, right? We know the benefits of that and the complications like housing and all of the other things that go along with it. So those are all parts of the conversations that we're having in the coalition as well. Family community nights, we know that Laura Pasco, who's our gender inclusion consultant, is going to be leading a couple family community events sometime between January and June of next year. So I'll keep you posted when those are happening. Additionally, you know, Christina's probably shared how a number of us, we've been going to these sessions around the education quality standards and really thinking about how are we going to integrate these. And they really support so much of what we're trying to do. I mean, they're explicitly, you know, supportive of things that are anti-racist, non-discriminatory, culturally responsive, a lot of what we've been saying that we really want to integrate. So we're just, and we know that there are already teachers in our schools and places where this is happening. So how do we take what's already happening and maybe use those as models or ways to start to look at where there are some gaps, like how some teachers are able to do this and maybe some might need some support. And I'll just say that there's a lot more that's going to come with this, because I think we're also looking at there are train-the-trainer programs that are being developed and how to implement these, and the statewide network that I'm connected with of folks in positions like mine are talking a lot about this and how can we learn from each other, how can we look at how this may look in one school which may be different from how it looks in another school, but some examples for how you actually implement and integrate this stuff with, you know, it's a great idea, but so far, I don't know that there's any funding really that's going to support this. So I know that's like a lot of education mandates. It's like great ideas, but not a lot of funding. So it's good that we have what we have in our budget next year to really be thinking about, again, support for that continued capacity building and shared learning so that we can get and continue to get better at being culturally responsive. Also, really taking into account the lived experiences of all our students so they can feel seen and acknowledged who they are. What else? These are just a couple things. Group agreements, again, these are some of what we're working on. This was an attempt at looking at how this also intersects with Leader in Me and with our Portrait of a Graduate. They all align, right? These ideally all of these things connect, and we're integrating, right? That we're integrating these things, aligning them more than starting new initiatives. But like, how do all these things really line up to support what we're already doing? These were a couple other things, thinking about behavior response, disciplinary consequences. Again, these are works in progress, but how can we create, like the Burlington School District has these incredible resources for education and learning pathways for students who maybe don't know better, right? Who may say something hurtful or may say something harmful or just may say something that they didn't understand there was going to be an impact. So how do we support the education and learning that can happen as part of that process, right? And that we don't see discipline as just something that's punitive. So Burlington School District has, I just shared these out and because they gave us permission to share them, but if you have, say there is a student who made a homophobic statement, you can actually search and find, okay, here's what's appropriate to share with like a middle school student. Here are some lessons you can review with them, right? And have them somehow demonstrate their learning. So anyway, it's great. That's what we're in the business of education, right? That's what we're here for. So anyway, great resources for all that. Again, just thinking about how we're sharing all of our policies out with staff, and we will be working on procedures for the transgender, gender nonconforming policy sometime, I'd say, before the end of the school year for sure. Equity ticket is being used, which is exciting. We talked a lot about using it and putting it into practice. And so I'd say people are still trying it on, you know, we have some places where students are using it for things that like someone said that just was mean, right? Which is like, it's great that they're using it. And it's like, if we compare that with other things to deepen the way that they understand equity, even better. So it's helping give us a little bit of a sense of some things that I know I might not have known were happening in our schools. So again, I'm glad that we're trying this on, and we do have some feedback on it as well. This is one of the sessions in the afternoon. This is, that integration with the folks who are part of our Trauma Champions team is helping to helping to build a toolbox of practices. It's like de-escalation or trauma practices, right? It's like so that every teacher, every staff member, right, has their own tools of whether it's mindfulness or grounding or collaborative problem solving. And so they're going to be leading a session that'll be in the afternoon on our in-service day, which is great because it's like then we can resource each other. That's where we really want to. There's so many folks within our SU who have amazing expertise and so much to offer each other. How can we be more of a resource to one another? So this is just to share that this was also something they put together slides for. It's like required. Or it was onboarding.
It's called, oh gosh, Tracy.
Yeah.
Mandatory training.
Mandatory trainings for all staff. This was part of one of them. So this is just one slide that I pulled out from there. Just again, thinking about how we're always thinking about like being trauma informed and trauma transformed. Equity coaches, shout out again to all the folks who have taken this on, who are experimenting with us this year as they try it on. And Lindsay is really being, she has been joining our equity coach team meetings as she's able to, which is great, having another administrator who's engaging in that way. So yeah, I can't say enough of how much of a game changer having equity coaches in our buildings is. It's awesome. Teamwork makes the dream work. This is just an overview again of a bunch of different dates that administrative team meets, the all staff meetings that are led by equity coaches, DEI and service day you can see is coming up January 6th. With the themes generally being like, can we put some agreements in place, talk about identity and values, and then, maybe move into being able to actually give and receive feedback. That would be great, having difficult conversations and realizing like things are not going to fully implode. We can do this. We can do hard things, right? These are also just seeding, like the idea is for us to also be able to integrate an equity filter or equity lens, which essentially are just a set of questions that we can continue to ask. This is one that builds off of, these are competencies in like social emotional learning. And what's so cool is that the way that these questions align with the education quality standards, right? These are the things that we're just going to start to put more and more into practice. We've already been lifting up some of these questions with staff, right? Asking people to think about, like, how am I in reflection about my own identities and emotions? Where are the places that I get activated, right? Knowing if there are certain behaviors where people get activated, or like it's, knowing, again, this fits with the toolbox. What tools do we have at our disposal when something comes up, right, for us, even as adults? How am I a reflection about my own identities of my students? What assumptions am I making? Who's most impacted? How are they included? And how will this advance more equitable outcomes? I mean, these basically are questions meant to help support us in thinking about, right? I mean, we have policies, this is from our equity policy, right? That we want to prohibit the unlawful harassment of students based on race, color, religion, creed. I think this is also on HHB, hazing, harassment, bullying. But thinking about what are the questions that we need to be asking on a regular basis so that we know if and when we're doing this. Other questions I've been asking in our administrative team leadership sessions, right? Again, is like, how am I building a safer, more inclusive SU for all, right? We know, again, at the end of the day, this is for everyone. And when we think about patterns, history, examples of folks, even like I said, in the youth risk behavior survey assessment, right? It's the data that we keep seeing that there are certain groups of folks and individuals who may not be feeling as included, right? Who may not be feeling as safe. So if we can continue to keep asking ourselves how we are creating safety and inclusion for folks who may be least feeling it, then we're actually going to be doing that work and creating it for everybody. Couple highlights. couple pictures. We took a bunch of students to Outright Vermont's GSA conference this year. We had 15 students. We had every school across our SU represented. And then the bottom right was a student leadership conference that Woodstock High School puts on every year. And this was one of our students in the middle there who was debating cell phone policy. It was really cool to see all these students. It was like they organized this within the theme of DEI, and then they pick a topic each year to focus on. So this was about cell phone policies. And it was really interesting hearing students, you know, assigned like pro or con on cell phones and just some of the things that they were sharing. So my takeaway from that day is just, you know, the importance of continuing to really, like we say, student voice matters, right? So where are the ways that we're getting input on the regular? Students have a lot of great input. So it was a cool day, and Helen did amazing debating.
Helen.
So that's yeah. I'll pause there. I'll stop screen sharing. Thanks for listening, and thanks for the support that you all are providing this work. So any comments, questions? Amy, yeah.
Hi, Tracy. Thank you for taking the students up to the GSA conference. I'm not sure that our SU has participated all that often or as much as they could have. And that just being with all of the different students across the state, I think is a really good experience for everybody. So thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Amy. It was amazing, and you know, shout out to some of our equity coaches in the schools who really helped, and our GSA leaders in schools who recruited students for that. And some of the students, I mean, we don't have, it wasn't just from GSAs that they recruited students, but like student leadership groups, you know, like Albert Bridge, I think, brought their whole 6 like leadership team, you know, and so it was really cool having that many students. Last year we went with maybe a handful of students. This year we went with about 15, and it grows every year. There were like over 300 people, I think, at this conference. So yes, yeah.
Yeah, you know, in addition to that, I just want to share my appreciation for that graphic you showed us near the beginning. I thought was really fantastic. And I know you said earlier you're going to bring something like that, but I think it does illustrate really nicely how, you know, DEI or DEID work fits into this continuum that, you know, the end result we want is students and staff and anybody in the school community to be able to be their authentic selves and experience that sense of belonging. So that's, yeah, and I appreciate, you know, just the kind of high level look at, you know, what everything that you have been doing. I think we all kind of know that it's been a lot and you've been very busy, but I think seeing all in one place and the sense of sort of where we are at right now and where we can still continue to grow is really important. So, and I think I'll be available on January 6th to do that.
Okay, well, I'll send you a reminder.
Awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, Amy.
Another question with the YRBS, I think it's Up for Learning, promotes getting to why. Is that something that our supervisory union has considered putting a student group together?
We did, you know, we went last year. We didn't go this year. We were trying to to organize a group to go this year. And last year, I think it was like, you know, we brought student teams, which was great. They came back, they shared out some of the data. And I think it's maybe somewhere we could structure a little bit more, like for next time. But I thought it was a great, I mean, it seemed like a great program. I mean, it's training students to be the ones to then bring back and share out all the data. So yeah, definitely a valuable program. All right, thank you everyone, and I'll send it back to you, Bill.
Thank you, Tracy. Can anyone hear me?
Yeah.
Am I still muted? Okay, good. Because I had muted myself and I couldn't remember if I turned it on. Setting the next agenda.
All right. So just a reminder that we meet on December 16th next month, which is the third Monday instead of the fourth due to the holiday. We have some policy work. We need to do our third reading of E20, which is community use of school facilities. We have on the docket, and Bill, tell me if you think this is too many based on what we just went through, okay, with the number of policies we were working on. So the SBA has recommended that, and that's where we get the list, that we update B7, which is our tobacco prohibition policy, C3, transportation policy, C6, home study students, D3, responsible computer, internet, and network use. And then we did have a request from a board member to revisit D2, which is the curriculum development and coordination policy. So do you think that is too ambitious of a list?
Well,
It's 1, 2, 3, it's 5. It's 5 first reads and a third read.
that's a lot, but I'm willing to look at the draft before I kind of make that choice, see what else is
Okay.
going on around the
Okay.
horn, so to speak.
Okay, and then we've got the admin reports, which is mine, and next month Angie is back for a proficiency work update. Some exciting work going on at the high school that I'm sure she'll want to share about with you all. And then hopefully the budget will be adopted by then, so we won't have to talk about the budget. So
Yeah.
and the calendar may be, I don't know, I think the union, I meet with the union on the 17th, so the calendar might need to wait till January for your official approval.
Yeah.
But that's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure.
Okay. Do we have a need for executive session?
Not that I know of.
Okay. I will take a motion to adjourn this meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Awesome.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
And
Happy Thanksgiving.
oh,